So I have 10 minutes. So I would like to follow up with today's program. Today we'll be talking about the healthy plate. And I'll just ask for, I have a PowerPoint presentation. So I'll just wait on that to come up. So essentially, we're talking about four things. We're talking about, one, the nutrients that we overconsume in the Western world. Western world meaning United States, North America, Central America, Latin America, and the Caribbean. Two, the foods that we underconsume, the good nutrients. The third thing, I wanted to kind of make recommendations in terms of the top foods to eat. And finally, I wanted to demonstrate what a healthy plate looks like. So once again, my name is Chad Hinds, and today is another beautiful Sabbath at Margate SDA. Next slide, please. Right, so uh, so as outlined before, these are what we're going to talk about. Next slide. Okay, my reference is I'm using a board review manual for the American Academy of Lifestyle Medicine. The authors of this book, brothers and sisters, they are from Loma Linda University. So these are a lot of Seventh-day Adventist principles here. So next slide, please. Next slide. Cool. Okay, so food that we overconsume in the U.S. diet. So some of the categories of food, we're talking about sugars, we're talking about sodium, cholesterol. And if we're able to minimize the consumption of these nutrients, I think we'll live healthier lives so that we'll be able to serve the Lord. So as I mentioned, added sugars, cholesterol, saturated fats, sodium, and trans fats are the main overconsumed nutrients. The issue with added sugars is that they can contribute to development of obesity and the complications of obesity. So, for example, when you look on the food labels, you may not just see sugar on the nutritional label. You're going to see stuff like cane sugar, high fructose corn syrup, fructose, sucrose, honey, lactose. Honey, some persons will prefer honey to sugar, but essentially they have the same chemical components. So when the body breaks it down, you have the same elements being absorbed into the bloodstream. Brown sugar, beet sugar, raw sugar, malt syrup, maltose, cane syrup, agave, rice syrup. They're all sugar, and they can all, if overconsumed, contribute to obesity and the development of diabetes, hypertension, and complications such as heart attack and stroke. So it's important to minimize the consumption of sugars, of these sugars in the diet. Next slide. And what are the common sources of sugar in the Western world? We're talking about candies, desserts, sugar-sweetened beverages, even if it's grape juice. It's still a source of sugar-sweetened substances. So I would say just eat grapes. Just eat the grapes, or sometimes you can even blend your own grapes at home. Condiments, sauces, ketchup, also salad dressing. Sometimes you have a good salad, and then by the time you add the salad dressing, you're adding more sugars to your diet. Crackers, the saltine crackers and even the thicker crackers, they contain salt, and they contain flour, refined flour that can contribute to excess intake of sugars. Breakfast cereal, the Fruit Loops, and I won't mention the brands or any brand names, but just when you buy a breakfast cereal, just take a look on the sugars and the nutritional labeling to see how much sugar is in the cereal. Finally, snack and energy bars. Next slide. Cholesterol. What are the common sources of cholesterol? Eggs, dairy, cheese, organ meats like liver, kidney. More so in Jamaica, you hear people talking about eating liver and kidney. But shellfish, lobster, shrimp, poultry, and fish. So the big issue with cholesterol is that the more cholesterol we consume, and I'm talking about the bad cholesterol, the higher the risk of developing complications such as heart attack and stroke. So it's good to avoid cholesterol as much as possible. And remember, all oils contain cholesterol. It could be the virgin olive oil, it could be vegetable oil. All oils do contain cholesterol, so try to minimize the consumption of oils. Next slide. Saturated fat, again, the same thing as cholesterol. Higher the intake of saturated fats, the higher the risk of developing heart attack, stroke, and issues with blood flow and circulation. And common sources in the Western world include cheese, milk, and meat. Next slide. So, in terms of sodium, the big issue with sodium is the development of high blood pressure. If we consume too much sodium, that will harden the arteries and cause the development of high blood pressure. So, common sources: burgers, sandwiches, most commercially prepared foods, tacos, rice, pasta, pizza, meat, poultry, seafood, and soups. So those are some common sources of sodium. So try to prepare your own meals at home. Trans fat, same thing as cholesterol and sodium and saturated fats, animal foods, and butter. Next slide. Right. So next slide. As a matter of fact, and then foods underconsumed. A lot of the nutrients that you find in a healthy plate are what are underconsumed. We're talking about vitamins and minerals. So in the interest of time, I'm going to ask to be put to the second to last slide, which has a healthy plate. Because really a healthy plate consists of a plate that has a half plate that consists of vegetables. Half of the plate must consist of vegetables, colorful vegetables. Quarter of the plate has to consist of whole grains, whole grain pasta, whole grain breads, whole grain rice, and finally, the next quarter should consist of protein, preferably plant-based proteins, seeds, beans, tofu. And that's the end of the presentation. I thank you. Sure. Right. Okay, cool. Thank you. So we have a question. What are the sources of good cholesterol and bad cholesterol? So, good cholesterol is cholesterol that will actually carry cholesterol back to the liver from the arteries. Bad cholesterol are uh, cholesterol that actually gets deposited within the wall of arteries, causing more blockage. Sources of good cholesterol include nuts, and even some fish oils are good cholesterol, like omega-3, omega-6 are examples of good cholesterol. And 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 the source of bad cholesterol, the thing about it, fish also has bad cholesterol. So when you consume fish, you consume the fish oils, the good cholesterol, but they also do contain bad cholesterol. And the bad cholesterol is found in meats, all meats, fish, beef, chicken, and pork, and and also in oils and in dairy products, butter, cheese, milk, the animal milk, not the plant-based milks. So the difference is the bad cholesterol. The higher the bad cholesterol, the higher the risk of heart disease and the complications of heart disease, stroke, and heart attack. The higher the consumption of good cholesterol, the lower the risk. Unfortunately, the, a lot of the sources of good cholesterol are sources of bad cholesterol. So oftentimes your physician will focus more on the bad cholesterol content of foods because definitely if you decrease the amount of bad cholesterol you have, even if the good cholesterol may not be at the normal level. If you have a low intake of bad cholesterol, you will prevent the risk of heart attack, stroke, peripheral vascular disease, and anything that has to do with clogging of the arteries. So that is my presentation. Any more questions from the team or from the congregation? Yes.
Dr. Todd. Oh, sorry.
Soon I
One.
might pull.
Oh,
He said,
Hello?
right, right. Exactly. I agree with you. Exactly. So sometimes, so the comment here has to do with temperance and how important it is to be moderate in our intake. Yes, Elephanton. Right. Exactly. So every third Sabbath, the Personal Ministries Department has allowed us meaning the Health Ministries team, to give a 10-minute presentation on tips in terms of health, because it's important to stay healthy, especially in this time when we have the pandemic. So I would like to thank everyone for your time and have a great Sabbath. Thank you.